I think it's really important that we understand how things change when we get into the ends, get like to the actual season, and then just how or like what my plan is for support for you guys as we get into it. So obviously, we won't be able to meet. There's actually rules against doing group training. We can still do one-on-one stuff, but as pitchers, it's a little different because we can't meet in person, right? Because you guys are already going to be throwing pins and stuff. So it's not like, hey, let's come in and throw. It just doesn't work for schedules with how many games and things we play. Probably not until the summer anyway. So, um, yeah, I just want to explain or just show what in-season program is going to look like. So here's kind of what we need to understand. So coaching and watching high school baseball, here's the things that I've just learned that have happened just in my coaching career. So and playing career really. So I've noticed that a lot of guys tend to slip back into old mechanical habits after a few weeks. They go into the season super sharp, and then just as you start getting into things, you kind of get away from drill work, kind of get away from um, just taking care of yourself, just because things are so busy, and sometimes you don't always get the attention that you need. And so, I think one thing that we understand is like we have to stay sharp mechanically, we have to stay sharp mentally, and I just see guys tend to slip back in old mechanical habits after a few weeks over time, even like at higher levels, college, professional. It's just something that just tends to happen. Okay, the other thing I noticed that happens a lot is a lot of times pitcher onlys can get lost in the shuffle. Sometimes there's no plan for them other than hey, we go do some picks or go run or something. Two-way guys don't get the work in that they need because they are obviously being spread more thin. They're playing a position, they're hitting, and then now they also have to pitch. And so just sometimes they don't get the amount of work in that they need, which is fine. It's not the end of the world. But the main thing is like there's really just not a plan for arm care, lifting, conditioning, workload management, all of those things that are as detailed as we might need it to be. And it's not, this last point is really important. Like I'm not sitting here blaming your high school coach. Like I'm a high school coach and it's hard for me. Like I'm a high school coach who does this, and it's hard for me even to help you guys stay on top of arm care, lifting, conditioning, workload management. And the nice thing is now that we have the app, it's a lot easier for me to do this. It's a lot easier for me to program things and make sure that you guys are educated on what you need to do. So I'm not blaming the high school coach. We just have to understand like they have a ton of players. There's not a ton of time. And some of this stuff when it comes to arm care, lifting, conditioning, understanding how to take care of yourself, the nutrition side of things, a lot of that's going to fall back on you in your downtime. And so the time outside of the 2 hours that you're practicing or playing games. And so I think it's just important that we understand that we need to stay on top of this stuff if we want to continue to develop during the season because we have this 2 month window and we're competing obviously, but we need to continue to develop during that window also, right? If we're not the guy that's playing every single day, or we're not the guy that's, maybe we haven't signed to play in college or we're not on varsity yet, like we need to keep developing. And so, yeah, the games are great and those are important. But there's also, we can balance the development side too and continue to get better. So that way we are prepared to play at that level. So those are all the things that I've just noticed doing this for a while. So what does my role look like during the season? Just like what can I do for you guys? Really, it's just providing resources so you guys become your own best coach. I really want you to be as educated as possible on your own process and what you need to do to be successful. And obviously, I can give you like continue to give you lifting plans, arm care, conditioning, education on workload management, mechanical adjustments and feedback, pitch shape fixes, mental game stuff, problem solving, just general encouragement. So these two things I think are going to be big on what I will do, moving forward as we get into the season. I've had several things now where guys like Merrick Miller, Ethan Sinovic have asked like, "Hey, I'm struggling with my changeup." Or I had a kid on Sunday like, "Hey, I'm struggling with my changeup," and I would just have them send me a video, say, "Hey, what's your grip? What are you thinking about? What's your cue? Throw me a video, show me a video of you throwing a couple," and I could just send them some video. I sent them a quick video back, and it was right back to where it needed to be. So there's really easy things that I can do that way. Um, when it comes to mechanical adjustments, even like Brett Sears messaged me the other day, and he's like, "Hey, I'm kind of struggling with feeling out my lower half or feeling out my drift," and so he just sent me some video, and I was like, "Hey, it looks like I'm seeing this. This is where you looked like when you were throwing really well. This is what you look like now. Let's just see if we can kind of get back to this. And it's not so much drill work as much as it's just, hey, I'm seeing a little bit of too much of this one thing, or maybe your lead leg's off just a little bit, and then you guys just make the adjustment quickly. So those are all the things that I really will be providing moving forward. And then obviously these weekly check-ins and performance reviews. So every week after you throw, whether it's a pin or an outing, there'll be a check-in that you'll fill out, and it just gives me an idea of how things went for you. That way, if you need help or help with something or problem solve something, then it gives me a little bit better an idea. That way, we're not spending time talking through everything first. I know exactly how the outing went. I know exactly what you're struggling with, and then we can just talk about problem solving techniques basically from there. And then we'll also talk about recovery scores too. So I know for some of you guys, when you're in your velo phases, you had like a recovery score. That will also be something that's super important in season, just seeing how we're bouncing back, if we need to adjust lifting, arm care, conditioning, that sort of thing. So what I really want us to understand is like how to program ourselves, because what's going to happen is it's not going to be like it was in the off season where I was just like, hey, Mondays you're going to have a high day, Tuesdays an off day, Wednesday's a medium day, Thursday's another high day. It just doesn't work like that because of games and because of schedules and everyone's doing different things. So I'm not going to be able to plan every single person's week out, just because even games are changing all the time too. And so these are just some general rules, and I will make sure that this is posted so you guys can see it. But when it comes to your throwing programming, these are the things that we need to follow. So no more than 2 high days a week. So if you have like, here's what's going to happen. Your coach is going to say, hey, you're going to throw on Thursday. Let's throw a bullpen on Monday or Tuesday. And then he's not going to tell you like, do I throw a high day today? Do I throw a medium day? Do I throw a low day? Right? We don't know all that stuff. And so that's what you're going to have to figure out, because we don't want to run into this thing where we're throwing too much or where we're throwing too little. And so it's going to take a lot of communication with your coach. It's going to take a lot of just knowing yourself and knowing what you need. So, no more than 2 days a week where we're doing like heavy long toss with pull down, game appearances, full bullpens, that sort of thing. Anytime you have a high day, you want to follow it with a low day or an off day. And then the rest of the days are typically your medium days. So medium days are great for, if you're playing another position and you haven't thrown a high day in the last couple of days and you need to get game ready, obviously to go play third base or outfield or something, those are your medium days. And then you can always throw a short box on those. Like I would always try to get on the mound. If you get on the mound twice a week, I'd probably throw one other short box in there just to stay on the slope. I think that's super important. And so obviously your coach might not program that. So you're going to have to ask, hey, coach, can I go throw a short box today? And if coaches are going to say yes, and they're going to appreciate the fact that you are taking things into your own hands, but they're not going to tell you every day what to do. And so that's where you need to know, when am I throwing next? When could I potentially be throwing next? And then, hey, I need to go make sure I get my work in so I'm prepared, right? So the short box is kind of your cheat code for that, where you can get a lot of work in without blowing yourself out. Okay, but this thing, keep the high days high and the low days low, is super important. We can't let our high days, we can't let our medium days turn into high days and our low days turn into medium days. Okay, we got to be able to make sure that when we get after it, we're getting after it, and then when we're recovering, we're recovering. And so I just put some examples in here of what it could look like. So a 3-day cycle, maybe you go medium with a short box on your own. If you want to throw one that day, then go high and then go low off and then just repeat it. Okay, it's a super easy way to do it. Or maybe you go medium high, you threw like 5 innings, and then you go off the next day because it was on the weekend or something, and then you go low. So those are kind of easy ways to do that, because obviously you'll throw medium again the next day before you go high. So, but I just want us to understand like how we need to take care of ourselves during during the actual season, because you're just probably not going to get as much direction from a coach as you think you might need or want. So on the app, just to go back to this, on the app, everything will be on demand. So a high day, medium day, low day, there's not a ton of stuff that will be on there. But when it comes to arm care, this will also be on demand. So based on what you did that day, you'll need to go pick out the arm care that you need. So if you did a high day, there'll be a high day arm care routine. If you did a medium day, there'll be a medium day arm care routine. And then if you were a low day, there'll be like some soft tissue recovery stuff that you can do. And so it should be super easy to know, okay, this is what I did for my throwing. This is the arm care that I need to do. And you might not have time for it during practice. You might have to go home and do it. But this is the stuff that we have to be super diligent with. So that way we stay, as healthy as possible and continue to get stronger throughout the season. And so I'll have all of this in the app for you. You'll just have to go and find it like under the kettlebell. It won't populate on its own. Does that make sense? There'll be some lifting stuff on there too. Now I know a lot of us are lifting in school, and that's great. If you need a lifting program, everyone will be assigned to this. So you'll have there's two strength days that will be on there. Okay, those are great for your medium days. There'll be some recovery days, which are similar to kind of the recovery things that we've done. They'll change a little bit. There'll be more like circuit-based stuff. So instead of like running poles or something, it'll be more of just like a recovery flow type of thing. We'll elevate your heart rate and excuse me, will help promote recovery without cashing you. These will be great for like after a start or after an outing. And then there'll be this potentiation workout. And this potentiation workout is just supposed to like boost your central nervous system and get you running at peak performance the actual date of your start or outing. Now, you might not know exactly if you're pitching, but it's pretty quick. It's something you can do super easy. It won't take away any of your lifting that you're doing at school. It won't cash you or hurt you. It'll actually help boost performance a little bit by like 2 to 3%. So if you're someone who throws 80 miles an hour, 2% of 80 is, 1.5 miles an hour. So it's something that you can do anytime within 24 hours of the start, and the residual effects should carry over. So I could see for most of us doing these two, the recovery flow day after outings, and then the potentiation workout before outings. Don't need a ton of equipment, super easy thing you can do, either in the weight room quick or before practice or part of your warm up. Questions on that? Again, this will all be on demand for you, so you'll just have to go into the app and pick it out. So that's really the gist of it. So in terms of drill work, what I'll do is I'll need from you guys, if you ever want to send me a video, you can. I know that's not easy during practice because you don't have your phones, coaches don't have their phone. I understand how that is, but if a parent gets some of you pitching in a game, send it to me, throw it on form. Super easy for me to give you feedback that way. Okay, we have the performance reviews, which are also an easy way for me to just get feedback from you guys so I can help. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. In terms of drills, just to be a little bit more specific, so there's not going to be a ton of, hey, we're going to do this before every pen. Like, Grayson, you're going to do 5 step backs and 3 drop steps or something. Like, it's probably not going to work out that way just because we know how pens go at school, right? Your coach is going to be like, go throw a pen. And you're going to be like, well, what the heck? And then you're going to start doing this stuff and you'll be like, what the heck? Nobody get the pen out of the way, right? Because there's 20 other guys that got to throw. So I know how that goes. There might be some things where I just say, hey, Charlie, you really need to do like the Dominican drill once a week because it helps you stay behind your lead leg. It might be like, what's the one drill you really like? And then let's just do that one that helps keep us right. Does that make sense? And maybe you need to mix those in. And I can throw those on the app too. I can help you pick those things out. But I do know that drill work's going to be more difficult to go by. But if you give me video, I can say, hey, I'm noticing this with your glove side. I'm noticing this with your back leg. Here's a drill or something you can try to kind of make the correction and then go from there. Because really, we don't need a ton of drill work. We just need enough to kind of get us right and then get us back to competing as quickly as possible. Does that all make sense? Okay. So yeah, the stuff will look a little bit different on the app. It'll still be things that you need. You'll just kind of have to do some individualization stuff on your own. And if you ever have questions, just message me and say, hey, Coach O, what should I do? I think I'm throwing this day. Maybe I'm struggling with this. What should I do? And then that's where I can obviously step in. And then we'll still have our Zoom calls and things like that to problem solve, outings and things, if that's the case. And sometimes too, like even like last fall, so like Cody Cizik was struggling with some things and he had a start on Sunday and he called me on like the Saturday night and was like, hey, and I think he'd be fine with me sharing this, but he's like, "Hey, I'm kind of nervous. There's some things that I've kind of been struggling with um, on the mound. Can we just talk through it quick?" And we had a 5-minute phone call, and then he's like, the next day he went out and shoved, and it was just because we kind of talked through some things. We got his head in a good spot, and he went out and did really, really well. And so it can be as simple as that too. Hey, let's just hop on the phone quick and chat and make sure that we're in a good headspace. We're feeling encouraged and feeling confident, and then we can go out and compete.